Hello, true duelists. It's YGO Strat's Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, where I'm going to be talking about some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years, and some of the other ones that just didn't. Today's card, the unexpected tech of a hand trap, Sauravis, the Ancient and Ascended. Sauravis, or Sauravis, or however I'm going to choose to mispronounce it as I read this script, was first released in Invasion Vengeance in 2016 as a secret rare, with only one reprint to date as of this video, as an ultra rare in Dual Overload in 2020. Also as of this video, the card has spent no time on the ban list, and it probably won't be on the ban list anytime soon. A level 7 light attribute dragon type ritual monster with 2600 attack and 2800 defense, its effect reads: you can ritual summon this card with Sprite's Blessing. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control, quick effect, you can discard this card, negate the activation. When your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand, negate the special summon, and if you do, banish that monster. Sauravis is something of an unusual ritual monster, and that it isn't typically ritual summoned. It's somewhat reminiscent of a Necroz monster in my mind, because my brain is perpetually locked in the mid-2010s, and this card is blue, therefore it is Necroz. But actually, the discard effect is something that greatly benefits any ritual monster, broadly speaking, and is the primary appeal of this card specifically. Its on-field effect is truthfully pretty damn solid. A speed spell to negate of a special summon by itself is strong enough to end a play or push from the opponent at the right time and in the right circumstances, and the fact that it banishes the monster is even better. That fact, coupled with the fact that it bounces itself to hand to further enable its first effect, is honestly a pretty phenomenal bit of self-synergy, if you will. There's only one real problem with it. Its ritual spell, Sprite's Blessing, is awful. Now, maybe awful is too strong of a word. Sprite's Blessing isn't just what the OCG could have called their first format after Power of the Elements, but it's also a generic light ritual spell. You can summon any light ritual monster by tributing monsters from your hand or field with the exact appropriate levels. It's the light counterpart to Contract with the Abyss, a card first printed in 2003, which isn't exactly scaling the effects to the modern game. Now, I can understand why they didn't give it its own ritual spell, in the sense that if it had its own and was a pre-prep target, making it a searchable hand trap could have been seen as being a little bit too much. Getting onto that main effect though, stopping targeting effects is great, despite what people might tell you. I can remember in 2016, my friends talking about how if a card says target on it, it's pretty much worthless. With the rise of Cosmo monsters being untargetable, the Monarchs avoiding targeting in general with Erebus and Stormforth, and just the general power level in the game. In their eyes, and even in mine somewhat, targeting seemed like it was just a bad thing. Then in 2017, two of the most annoying and strongest cards of the format became Zodiac Trident and Masterpiece. Granted, there's a lot more than targeting destruction effects to them that made them annoying, but the point is, coming from the consensus of target bad and going into a format where my least favorite card was just a targeted destruction of a face-up card only, it's a pretty clear sign that targeting isn't inherently bad, it's just not inherently good. In just about every format, there are strong cards that will be targeting and destroying your cards. Are you a fan of the Tier Limits field spell? The extra little pop each time they summon on your turn because communism has run rampant in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Sure, it's far from the worst thing tiers are doing, but we all know it can put in that little extra bit of work over the course of a duel. Or how about a Baron? The negate is powerful, but that free pop each turn it's on board is a extra bit of salt in the wound. And while most times stopping the field spell pop won't save you from tears as a deck, in general, having a monster protected from a targeted effect can make the difference in a duel. Sometimes a player has their back to the wall, and they just need to clear one monster to be able to push for game or take the lead in advantage to try and go for a win. And they invest their plays into making something to clear that one big monster from the opponent. And if you put the resources into making a Nightmare Cerberus or a Nightmare Unicorn, who is especially common in the extra deck, all to have it negated, and then you're just left with a 2200 vanilla, feels pretty bad, man. But sometimes duels simplify enough to points like that where saving your own 3k beater can make or break the duel. And if you're playing Sauravis, you might be able to save yourself in just such a situation. Now, historically speaking, this card really only showed up in Sekka Burning Abyss builds, as they were only allowed to be playing 3 spell or trap, and Sauravis was a solid hand trap for its format. Strikers removal spells targeted, the Nightmare package was pretty new at the time and being abused, and in general it was a somewhat unexpected answer to some of the more common problems of its time. Really, its biggest weakness is that it only protects monsters and not any of your cards. I'm sure there are more people against floodgates than there are people for them, but wherever you fall on the debate, we can all agree that they can win a duel by themselves. And Twin Twisters or Cosmic Cyclones are common enough answers to floodgates that if Sauravis could stop them, it would help secure you a win or two. Were it able to protect your floodgates, or even field spells and other back row in general, I'm sure you could see more play. But as it is still a solid tech for saving your own monsters. Well, that and the fact that it doesn't get rid of the problem, it only negates the activation. For spell of traps that can be solid, but while it is nice to stop Baron's pop, it'd be a lot nicer to get it off the field, since a 3k beater is still a 3k beater. It did also see some play in ritual good stuff type decks that I'd like to mention, because while it was never a really good deck, it is one that I had fun with, and that is far more important to me and also you as the viewer because I've said so. Overall, Sauravis is a very cute and niche sort of hand trap, and yeah, fuck it, I'll call the big dragon with a beard cute, I'm not scared. It's one that doesn't see frequent play, but if/when a format shows up where there are more cards like, say, Zodiac Dryden, it could be your spicy tech to help cheese out a win, if only because the majority of players aren't going to be playing around it. It's definitely a card I'd recommend picking up if you're looking for something out of the conventional box of means to disrupt the opponent's plays, even if it isn't the best in every format. And so that's our look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, Sauravis, the Ancient and Ascended. Stay tuned for our next video, and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like, and as always, subscribe to YGO Strats, so you too can become a true duelist.